We're going back mini today. Today's video was supposed to be another drag racing video after getting the car rebuilt last week, but with some pretty ugly weather this weekend, I wasn't able to get out and get any passes down. The good news is with this kind of weather, we have some micro monster trucks that we can have some fun indoors with. Playing around with this little FMS Smasher that I did a little mini review overview on a couple weeks back. I was looking into the suspension a bit and I came across something in the package that comes with the truck. There was this little bag of O-rings and I started thinking about it and doing a little research, and these shocks obviously aren't oil filled, but they are capable to be filled with oil. You can see I did the rear end already, and you can obviously see the difference between the front and how bouncy it is and the rear and how nice and smooth and soft that is. Even a little drop test, it's still pretty bouncy in the front, but you can maybe see that that rear settles out pretty smoothly. Like I said, I did the back off camera just to see how easy it would be and how that process would go. It's not too bad to do. It's a little different. It's not a full scale shock, obviously. These are pretty tiny, so you got to work with what we got, but it's pretty simple to just take the shocks off. The upper attachment point is just a screw. The bottom is actually built into the pivot balls on the links, so I just kind of pop these off just like that. There's no bottom retainer to pull the spring off, so we actually have to pull the entire eyelet off. Pretty simple with a shock shaft pliers, and we'll just twist that off. We can pull off the spring now, pull the cap off, and then we can pull the actual piston and shaft out, which, as you can see, it's just a screw actually. Let me get you in closer here. So yeah, our piston here is literally just a screw, which it works fine actually. I mean, you saw the back end of the truck. Seems to work okay. This little kit came with 2 small O-rings per shock and 1 big one. The small ones are gonna go on the bottom of the shock where the shaft comes out, and that big one will go at the top for the cap. Just using a set of tweezers to pull this off. There's a little groove you can slide in there and pull that cap off. I found it's best to actually put both of the O-rings into the bottom first. So that's one, and that's the second one, and then I actually put this cap back on. I'm using just a little bit of black grease on the threads of the shock shaft. That'll help us get a better seal as well. And we'll slowly just push that through. Now our shock shaft's back into place and we can fill up this shock with oil now. Something this small, we don't want to go too heavy. I actually tried 30 weight in the rear and it was way too stiff. So we're going with the lightest that I have, which is 15. It's kind of delicate to fill these things up. Probably won't be able to get it well on camera. It literally takes about 4 drops of oil or fluid. You might not even be able to see the fluid inside of there, but there's no holes in the piston, obviously. It only flows around the side, so it's good to work it up and down a good bit to make sure you don't have any air underneath the head of that screw or the piston. And once we get it most of the way full, you may be able to see the oil coming up as I'm pushing the piston up here. Once we get about to the top of the travel, we want it to be full or as close to full as possible. I think I may be over full here, but I'm gonna try to install that cap anyway. Like I said, we're gonna take one of our bigger O-rings now, and it's gonna go over the top for the cap. And now we can just thread our cap on. And let's see how this worked out. Actually, not too bad. We have a little bit of rebound, but not much. It's not getting stiff like the other ones were when I was overfilling them. So I'm happy with that. Just put it back together now. Same way you took it apart. the spring. And thread on that bottom eyelet. And we'll throw it back on the truck, knock out the other side. How y'all like that? I just did that one take, no cuts, no edits, no retrying anything, and we have a shock built. So we got all 4 shocks filled with some 15 weight oil now. You can see, not nearly as springy, still pretty soft and quick drop test. Still a little bounce to it, which is what we want from a monster truck, but nothing too serious, doesn't bounce around a whole lot. I'm curious to see how this is gonna work out on the ramps. We still don't have a larger power system in it yet, so some of those bigger ramps, it does go over slower. But I remember the first time I tested this thing out, it was pretty bouncy going over those ramps. So I'm curious how it's gonna work now. Hopefully this suspension change helps us out a good bit. The battery's fully charged, so let's set up those ramps and jump this thing around a little bit. Quick side note that I'm learning, if you're gonna be bashing this thing around like me, not really interested in its crawling capabilities, more monster truck style, you're probably gonna wanna pick up another battery. I think I got maybe 3 minutes of runtime just there, just bashing around back and forth, hitting those ramps a good bit. It's pretty crazy how fast that battery drains. But that's not the point of this video. This video was about suspension, and to the eye, I'll have to see what it looks like on camera. But to my eye, driving it wise, feel wise, it feels like adding oil to these shocks definitely helped. The truck felt a little more in control, I guess I would say. Or should I say, I felt more in control of the truck. I remember the first time running it straight out the box, hitting some of those jumps, it felt pretty bouncy. And when you'd land, you never knew which way the truck was gonna go. It felt pretty wonky, for lack of a better term. Now, yeah, we still get a little bit of bounce because of those tires, those nice soft tires, but the truck kind of plants a little better and I'm able to steer and just handle and control the truck a lot better. I can't say what it'll do for crawling because, like I said, I'm not really that interested in the crawling aspect of this truck, but for what I'm doing with it, it works pretty well. It's really nice to see shocks in a truck this size that are able to be filled with oil like that. I may be picking up a couple of sets of these shocks for some of my other monster trucks pretty soon. So if you picked up one of these trucks recently and you're like me and you'll basically be using it as a little basher indoor monster truck, I highly recommend going ahead and filling up those shocks with some oil. It's a pretty quick process. Like I said, I use 15 weight. Probably could have went down to 10, but 15 is the lowest I had. I'm almost tempted to cut down those springs a little bit just to give us a little more droop, but I didn't want to ruin the factory springs. Just adding the oil gave us a little bit of a suspension performance advantage right there. So for a quick, probably 10-minute mod, I would say this one's a win. I hope you all enjoyed the video. This thing is definitely getting some more power to it soon. Definitely need some more battery so I can drive it longer, actually. So make sure to subscribe if you're interested in more from this little truck. Click that bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And as always, thanks again for watching. Peace.